Welcome to Step Zero. I'm your host, Caitlin Henry. Today's guest is Gary Mairs, the voice behind the Instagram account Sober and Sound. Gary shares sobriety with a rare blend of honesty, humility, and self-awareness. His work doesn't romanticize recovery or reduce it to rules. Instead, he speaks to the lived experience of removing alcohol and learning how to sit with yourself when the noise fades. Through thoughtful reflections, personal insights, and grounded presence, Gary invites people into a deeper conversation about emotional sobriety, identity, and what it really means to live without numbing. Rather than preaching answers, Gary models curiosity. His message resonates with those who didn't necessarily hit rock bottom, but felt a quiet knowing, me, that something needed to change. Sobriety for Gary became less about what he stopped doing and more about what he started hearing: his emotions, his intuition, and his truth. Gary, I resonate with your story deeply. We are not from the same place. We don't look the same. We're not even the same gender. Welcome to the show. I am so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Caitlin. It's a pleasure. I like talking to people from across the pond because it is a different vibe, it's a different perspective, and a different way of drinking, I would imagine. So yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah, you would think our drinking is really not the same, but I remember going into England and, well, is that where you're from? Where exactly are you?
Do you know what? I'm actually Scottish. I was born in Scotland. My family is Scottish, and I grew up near Manchester. We moved there when I was 5, so I kind of feel half Mancunian, half Scottish, even though I wasn't in the centre of Manchester. But yeah, I identify with Oasis, Man United, all that kind of stuff.
Very cool. Yeah, because I was
Where
gonna
are you
say when.
from?
Oh, so I'm in California. Like, we're a very small little beach town, but right outside Los Angeles. And so it was funny because when I went to England and I saw people drinking, I was like, you guys do drink a lot, but I think it's almost like we hide it better. You guys are just like straight up like, let's go to the pub, let's rage, let's go. And we're like, oh, let me put it in a fancy flute and call it a mimosa so that I can drink as many as I want, and it's just a little orange juice.
Yeah,
Does that make
interesting.
sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
We drink similarly, and I can't wait to dive into how, especially you and I did, and this like whole rock bottom premise of you don't have to hit rock bottom to get sober because everybody's rock bottom looks different. I'm constantly talking to people where you would think it was their rock bottom, but then they have 3 more occurrences of drinking where it was like, nope, that one that was the worst time wasn't the time I stopped. It was actually a random Thursday night. I had 3 and I woke up the next day and I stopped. So I love this story about rock bottom. And so I really want you to take us back to your relationship with alcohol. When did you start drinking, and what did those early days look like before you hit sobriety?
Well, I'm going to have to go back 30 years really to when I started drinking. I'm 45 and I was born in 1980s, mid 90s. It was peak time for British people and British teenagers to be out in the park and getting smashed on a Friday night after school. And it was just part of the course, really. My introduction to alcohol came through. It actually started off apart from school and kind of weekend drinking. It really started in the pubs because the team I supported, Manchester United, had started winning everything, and we didn't have, you probably call it cable, Sky Television, and so I'd go to the pub with my dad and watch the football, and I wasn't drinking then, but I was getting. I could look around and found it very glamorous, and it was just a very sexy energy for me. I thought, oh, I could get into this. And I vividly remember my first drink. It was a can of lager on the opening night in the history of the British National Lottery. And I just remember the way it made me feel. And I remember asking my parents if I could have another one, and they said no.
How old were you again?
I
This was
think
when?
I've actually checked since I started my project, and I think I was approaching my 15th birthday, so I was 14. And I was done straight away. I fell in love with it. And I have to be honest, even at school house parties at the weekend, 15, 16, I looked around and I could tell people didn't like it like I did. I just knew for me, it was a shut off of the noise in my head because I have since discovered I've got ADHD, and a load of people resonate with this story. I've just had this non-stop washing machine head, and Friday night was my, I can like get obliterated and stop thinking, stop stressing, stop stop being a teenage boy and having all those worries, but I didn't realize they were exacerbated. I had undiagnosed ADHD, and alcohol straight away exacerbated everything. And I fell in love with it. I absolutely fell in love with how it made me feel. And from, I would say about 17, 18, I don't like the alcoholic word. We're moving away from that, I think, nowadays. But back then, I felt like one straight away. I knew I had a problem before I even went to university, like a serious, serious problem. It was pretty bad.
Were the feelings like then? Because it's the ADHD, but then I guess for me, what I'm resonate with a lot of your story that I see on your Instagram, like the feelings underneath, like I would just pour alcohol on top of them because I didn't know how to feel my feelings or express them. So how were you feeling at that time when you were aware that you had a problem, but you didn't want to do anything about it yet?
I've had a few traumatic things happen to me in my kind of mid to late teens. Then alcohol was just the obvious solution. I got incredibly bad acne on my back, which meant that I had to sleep on my front for about 15 years. And I was at dermatologists, hospital appointments. I was taking all kinds of creams, and then I got prescribed a very strong drug for it. And that changed me. And I think it was since taken off. It's been taken off the market since. Can't remember the name of it. And it just changed my mindset. Like I went from this happy-go-lucky 14-year-old, confident kid. I was tall. I was good at football. I was popular at school. I had not a care in the world, really. I grew up in leafy suburbia outside of Manchester. So went to a private boys' school. So on paper, I had the perfect life, really. Two parents that loved me. And the, the, that drug, and also a girl at that time claimed that I'd got her pregnant, which turned out to be a load of bollocks. But so straight away, I felt like I was dealing with adult problems as a teenager.
Yeah,
But the
that's
only way
traumatic.
to yeah, yeah, the only way to extinguish it was booze. So undiagnosed ADHD, terrible acne, and this drug. And before I knew it, it was carnage. It was fucking carnage. And then sort of 17, 18, when I was in, the latter part of my school life, Thursday night we'd go out on the piss, Fridays with my mates, Saturday, go to the pub with my dad to watch the football. And I kind of started that 4-day bender stuff really early. And I couldn't stop. Even at that age, I knew that it was uncontrollable. And on a Wednesday at school, I'd think, I need to get to Friday so I can get pissed. But I was volatile because I had a lot of underlying misery, really. And the volatility would come out at the weekends. I was funny to a point, gregarious, good crack, have a laugh. And then someone would say one sentence, or someone would look at me, and I'd just take all my kind of internal trauma out on people. I'd smash things up. I was mad into Oasis at the time, and they were like hedonistic nutcases. So I was trying to emulate my heroes as well by, going to parties and just telling everyone to get fucked and trashing things. And suddenly I was 28 and I was still doing the same stuff living in London. So it was very dark, very early, and it had to end at some point. But yeah,
Well, and that's that drinking persona that people talk about where it's like you
yes.
have an alter ego when it clicks,
Yeah.
like a lot of alcoholics say, this Jekyll and Hyde. And I think what I'm hearing you say is it didn't matter if there was alcohol in you or not. It was this rage was coming out whether or not it was.
No, no, sober I was good. I could, yeah, yeah, sober I was holding a lid on it. But sober I was, I didn't. If you met me sober, you'd think, oh, he's a nice lad. He's fun. He's a character. He's got a
So
bit
there
about
wasn't
him.
any irritability because what I find towards the end of people's drinking is they get irritable until they can have their next drink. So that wasn't happening to you. You were kind
No,
of.
sorry. You mean as I got older and I became an adult?
Mhm.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would say that my mood from the age of about 19 to till I stopped drinking was dictated entirely by alcohol, either being under the influence of it or withdrawing from it or needing it, trying to find it, trying to hide it, trying to apologize for it. And it just became my whole my whole personality, really.
That is exactly nail on the head and what I hear from all, like you said, we're going away from this word alcoholics, but at the same time, it just generalizes this population so well. If we think differently, our brains, like you said, have all these running thoughts all the time. And if we're not aware of them, we can't address them. And then we let life happen to us. everything is happening to me, not for me, because I can't even see past these rose-colored glasses of where's my next beer? They're literal beer goggles. Where do
Yeah,
I
yeah.
find my next beer?
Yeah, and you don't think at the time, I think you think, "What's wrong with me?" Not, "What's happened to me?" So you kind of internalize it and you demonize yourself for being a weak-willed piece of shit that cannot stop. You know, and since I've started doing this project, which I'm sure we'll get into later, um, I've realized that getting sober is a game of science. You know, if you have the knowledge of what it does to you, why you are feeling the way you're feeling, then you can start to piece together a plan to negate that, you know. But at the time, you know, it was 1998. I was 18. All I wanted to do was try and shag girls, watch football, fight if someone gave me a funny look, and pretend I was in a rock band. And then I was in a band later in London, and that was carnage as well. Yeah, it defined me for 15 years, really. And luckily, I'm now defined by sobriety and getting people out of the shit, which is great. And almost, I'm grateful in a weird way that it got so bad that I had this kind of amazing rebirth. The last 11 years of my life have been fucking brilliant. Like I can't complain.
Yeah, can you describe that specific moment when you realized something needed to change? Was it a slow burn or was it like this rock bottom?
I mean, my whole 20s were a slow burn. Look, I was an everyday drinker. When I didn't have to go to work, I was a morning drinker. So even at the age of like 22, just graduated, 23, if I had a Saturday, and I'm an early riser, I'm a morning person, was then, I'm now, if I woke up at 7 o'clock at the age of 21, I'd be in the fridge for a bottle of wine. I didn't really care what time it was. And so my 20s were just this kind of, there was a cloud of darkness because I was depressed, because alcohol's a depressant, you know, I didn't put two and two together. I couldn't believe retrospectively, like, what were you thinking? Of course. But I thought my life was fucked. It wasn't really. I was fucked. I'd done it to myself, you know, with this consumption. Um, I woke up every Monday morning. No, I went to bed every Sunday night after drinking all week, all weekend, taking recreational drugs, and go, right, I'm not going to drink tomorrow. And I'd get to lunchtime at work and I'd have sweat pouring down my back and I'd be wearing a blue shirt. I think I need a drink just to stop shaking and sweating. So I'd go to the pub at lunchtime, or I'd be straight, if I couldn't, I'd be straight to the shop outside of work to opt for the train. You know what I mean? I drank on the train. So if had an hour and 15-minute journey home from when I lived in London, from where I worked, big city. So where I worked to home might be an hour and 15 minutes. I'd get two cans for the train. And then I'd panic if I got 20 minutes away from home and I'd finished the second one. I'd be like, fuck me. And then I'd go get another one from the off license to walk 7 minutes home. So I've said this before. For 15 years, I was filling, or I was trying to fill 10-minute voids without alcohol with alcohol. It was like, oh, I can't drink for the next 15 minutes. What the fuck am I going to do? You know, it was awful. So was there a rock bottom? The week I stopped drinking, I'd had countless weekends like the one I had that initiated me to get sober, countless and many worse. But I felt like my body was failing me. A lot of things had happened in the previous year because I'd moved to Spain. I'd been in Spain for nearly 2 years when I got sober. But in the previous year, a lot of shit had happened and I'd hurt a lot of people and I was just tired. I was tired. And then this one weekend happened in Granada. And yeah, that was it. I'll go into it if you want, but it was just it had to end.
Yeah,
I didn't have a choice.
bring it on for the newcomer listener who maybe thinks they had their rock bottom or they have or haven't and they can't make a decision today. Tell us that story.
Okay, so I was living in Seville. So basically I moved to Spain because I thought running to Spain would solve all my problems. I met a girl, we fell in love, and this is a cool story actually. We fell in love and we moved to Valencia. Great city. Got to Valencia, thought, oh, my problems will be so what? A bottle of wine's how much? Oh, cool. The sunshine and the energy of life will solve all of my alcohol problems. Oh, a dollar, like a buck 50 a beer. Great. I went off a cliff basically, and broke up with my partner because of my drinking. And then I moved to Seville in the south of Spain. It's a beautiful city, and within about a week there, I'd probably pissed the whole of the city off. I was just like rampaging around the city, just being an asshole. Um, and then I wasn't working, and I was due to start work in May, and I'd been drinking white wine with my friend Rachel in bars all week, and then my mates came up to me and said, "Do you want to go to Granada?" And I was like, "It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. I shouldn't go. I've got no money. I'm hanging. I'd been drinking at like 7 in the morning every day for about 9 months. I was like, I shouldn't go." But one of my best mates lived there, so I was like, "Yeah, all right, I'll go." First night, pissed everyone off except my best mate. So all my flatmates in Granada kind of just left me, and I took a lot of MDMA one night, and I think it was the second night, and I woke up in a hostel about 7 p.m. and I didn't know where I was, and I had no money, and I was like, "Oh God, what am I going to do? Nobody wants to talk to me." Anyway, I found my mate, and we just drank all day Sunday, smoked joints, drank a bottle of rum, and I woke up on the Monday morning because he went to work, and this is the last day I ever drank. I kind of ostracized everybody. Nobody wanted to be near me. My family were at home. Everyone in Valencia didn't want to talk to me because of what I'd done in Valencia. I just moved to this new city. Nobody wanted to talk to me there. I was like, I've got no one, literally no one. I'm an only child. I'd never exposed my alcoholism, let's call it, to my mum or dad, really, because I loved them so much. I didn't want to hurt them. So I was all alone, really. I woke up on that Monday morning. I went to the fridge with a pounding hangover, and I got 2 cans out of the fridge at about 8:30 in the morning. And then I tried to get back to this hostel, and I had literally no cash. I had about 4%. It sounds fake, actually. I've said this story on Instagram once, and people didn't believe it. A few people, and I ended up getting lost in the hills of Granada. No phone, no money, didn't know where I was, and then my flip flop broke, and I thought, oh, like what has become of me, really? And I went into the town. I saw my mate that didn't want to look at me. He was my flatmate in Seville. He gave me €50 and he said, Fuck off, go home." And I bought 2 cans for the train and I poured the last third of the second one down the sink when I got back to my flat in Seville. I was like, I'm going to stop drinking tomorrow. I've not had a drink since.
Wow. I
It was
love
heavy. Yeah.
it's heavy and then the flip flop.
Yeah, that was it. Probably that was the
Exactly. Like all of these horrible things are happening. You can't get it together. You also wake up and you're like, I feel like shit. I have no money, but let me find out how to drink and smoke joints all day.
yeah,
You're
exactly.
ruining all your relationships. And then you're walking into town and your flip flop breaks. And talk about a step zero. It's like the next step literally snapped and said, if you don't get your shit together, like this is the trajectory of your life. It's almost like that diverged two roads, and you decided to take the one less traveled. So once you got sober, or decided, I should say, because what I like to pinpoint is like we can say all we want, like you did before. Again and again, you were saying, I'm not going to drink today. I'm not going to drink today. And then you drank. That was my story, too. I told myself all the time I wasn't going to drink. And then I relapsed, but I hadn't even started a program. I didn't even know what a relapse was. I was just like, oh, I caved again. I'm going to wake up and try this
Mhm.
again. So, what was different about this time saying, I'm not going to drink again? What were the next steps you took to actually carry it out this time?
I think that time I could feel it in me. And when I say that, I mean, I could feel that I was just becoming booze. I was sweating 24 hours a day. The shakes were permanent unless I was drinking. And that I just felt like it was going to kill me. And I don't know what it was about that. It was very symbolic, that flip flop and that walk over the hills. It just had such a profound impact on me. And I just woke up that morning and thought, right, if I don't do it now, I'll be dead in 5 years. People talk about their why. For me, my why was existence, like the prolonging of mine. You know what I mean? I just thought it was so deeply embedded in me. I think I would have been dead by 40. I was 33, so I woke up that day and I rang AA, an English-speaking AA in Seville, and an old guy from Florida actually answered randomly. He's like, "I'm sorry, son, you've just missed a meeting. There's one on Saturday." My flatmate was still in Granada because he didn't want to look at me. So I went back to my flat and I got like, I don't know, a 6 pack of Fanta, loads of chocolates because I had the sweet tooth anyway. I was like, I'm just going to sit on my sofa and ride it out. And I should have gone to rehab. I should have gone somewhere to hospital because really the next 4 days were just excruciating withdrawals. And it was not it was not a healthy time. Bill's one of the hottest cities in Europe, and even at that time, it was the middle of April. It was boiling hot, like plus 30 at that time, dry heat. And I just laid out on my sofa and sweated it out, hallucinating, like tripping. It was mad. It was crazy. And I got to the Saturday, and when I went to AA, I've got a funny relationship with AA, but when I went to AA, I walked into this English speaking AA the street parallel to mine. Now, I'm from Scottish, and I walked in there. I think there was 9 people in there, and 8 of them were Scottish,
No way.
and the other person was from Iceland.
Okay, so this is what I call a God shot, and I believe God works in our lives and whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. So, what was your relationship like with a higher power or with spirituality or God at the time?
0,
Okay.
and it's 0, and it was one of the things that stopped me from seeing it through at AA. So I went to the meeting, and an older Scottish lady came up to me at the end of the meeting, and I was the youngest by a distance. They're all like old timers. "Gary, go home today and meditate." And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I'd never shared my story. Everyone knew me as a pisshead, let's say. Because back then, I don't think we defined back then. It's only 11 years ago, but the landscape's changed a lot, hasn't it? It massively has changed. So at that time, actually standing up and owning it and sharing it in front of like-minded people. I remember it was a Saturday lunchtime. I walked out that meeting and I sat down on the steps at the end of the road, and I just burst into a flood of tears. And the catharsis was insane. It was mental. And I just felt lighter for the first time. I was like, okay, maybe there are other people and I'm not going to get judged and blah, 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 blah. So I went to the meetings Tuesday and Saturday for about 4 weeks. And then I started back at work. And then I went for about another 6 weeks on Saturdays. I got a sponsor, and he would take me down to the river in Seville after the meeting on a Saturday every week. And one day he took me to church. That's the last time I ever went to AA. And I tell you why. I was, 8, 9 weeks sober. I was having to reconstruct my whole kind of emotional, spiritual being. And I had no idea what it meant. I'd read the big book. I devoured the big book in about 3 days after the first meeting. I just read it. There's 2 books, isn't there? I can't remember what the other one. It feels like there's 2 books from
Yeah,
memory.
there's like their emotional sobriety. There's a lot of other ones, but the big book, I think what hits most for newcomers is the amount that resonates as you're reading it. You can't
Hmm.
deny that you have this quote unquote disease of alcoholism. Like, okay, whatever you want to call it, I cannot deny how much I related to those pages. So
Yeah,
I hear you
same.
on devouring the book and how much I underlined and how much I highlighted.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's plain as day, really. If you've gone a few days without a drink, you're like, oh, well, yeah, this is me. And when he took me to church, he was, I think, is it step 5, higher power? I can't remember.
2 and 3. So
Right.
you
Well,
turn
that's
your
how.
life over to the will of a higher power, like, after you find
There
a
you
higher
go.
power. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't remember. And he took me into this church and looked around. I was like, mate, not fucking coming back. But I didn't know myself. I didn't know anything. I was a baby. I'd had this 15-year chasm of not growing up. I was supposed to be growing up at 18, 19, 20, 25, becoming a man, but I was just stuck in a kid's body getting battered every day.
Well, and they say the first drink actually stunts your emotional growth. So if you were drinking starting at 15, when you stopped drinking at 33, you actually were emotionally a 15-year-old.
I couldn't agree more with that. I felt like an absolute, yeah, I had a lot of growing up to do, let's put it that way. But do you know what it was? Do you know the frustration in me was I knew I had a lot about me. I knew I had a personality that could kind of do anything. And I really felt like that. And I still feel like that now. So that was a lot of the internal battle. I was like, mate, you've got so much going for you and you just keep pissing it away. Anyway, so I decided not to go back to AA. And my higher power, let's call it that, became solitude. I'm an only child. I loved being on my own as much as my thoughts were pretty uncomfortable. But I embraced solitude hard. So I was living in Seville. I asked for a transfer to Tenerife at work. And so I managed to battle my way through 5 months basically in Seville. And then I just was like, nah, I got to go. And when I got to Tenerife, things started to slow down for me. I'd embraced meditation. I'd embraced gratitude. I could feel I'd lost a lot of weight. I'd done the appropriate things, making amends with the people that I should have made amends with. So I kind of just built up this momentum, and I'm telling you, every single minute, all I could think about was my past or where I'm at now. I just felt like I felt like I had an astronaut's helmet on and life wasn't real. It didn't feel real because I couldn't actually quite believe I wasn't drinking. Do you know what I mean? It amazed me.
Yeah.
I battled through. I lent into solitude as and discomfort because I didn't have a choice. I had to be alone. I'd moved to a new city. I didn't know anyone. I hadn't really explained to my parents was going on. My ex, who is now the mother of my daughter and is downstairs with my daughter, who took me back 7 years later after I'd proven that I was a decent person. The woman I moved to Spain with, um, she was the one, ironically, and I treated her very badly, that kind of was my anchor through the first sort of 6, 8 weeks. I was like, do you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go about it my own way and I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to sit and I'm going to feel everything that I've been too scared to feel for 15 years. And I started to love the feeling of discomfort and working out how to navigate it. Okay, I'm not, I'd go home from work. I was working at a university and I'd go home from work and I'd just sit and watch YouTube all night. Alan Watts, philosophy stuff, and try and re-educate myself. And I started to find that I liked myself for the first time in my adult life. I was like, do you know what? It's shit or bust. I have to stay sober. So I started to create, it's classic, innit? I just started to create a life that I liked and I wasn't really bothered about looking over my shoulder. So yeah. And then a year, I was miserable when I turned a year, but it took me 2 years to sort my head out, basically.
Yeah,
2 years.
the year mark is as high of I made it. Like, should I drink again or should I continue? I didn't ever think I'd get a day, let alone a year. And then
Yeah.
it goes, I like to say the peaks and valleys that would happen while drinking are now waves of okay, it can get a little
Yeah.
intense, but it's not as much in the valley. And so when you say that you were struggling between year 1 and 2, what did you shift and do? Like, what was your emotional sobriety really about then?
Mm. I turned a year sober on the 15th of April, 2015, and had booked a farmhouse in France, just a tiny little Airbnb for a few weeks. I was teaching online, and I woke up that morning and I was miserable as sin because I still had lot to work out. And so what I decided, do you know what I really did? I loved my job. I was teaching at a private university. I was teaching English to a load of 23-year-olds who were great fun, and I was really good at it. I used to sing in a band. I like the sound of my own voice. I'm confident in front of people, and it just became my haven. So I walk into a classroom, they've got like 7, 8, 22-year-old Spanish kids like hanging off every word I say, and it's performative, it's theatrical, and I'm dancing from side to side, doing all these, from the whiteboard, doing all these crazy activities, and I just started to feel a bit of self-worth. And it was a 1 week immersion course, and every week on a Friday they evaluated you. And I was slowly becoming one of the more popular teachers in the country, and I was thinking, I can fucking have this life now. And that kept me sober. And every night I'd finish work and I'd go home and I'd just sit. And with time, it got better because there
So
was
I
no
yeah.
alternative. The alternative was just go back to it, and I'd be dead at 40.
Totally. And I would talk a lot about how purpose helps keep people sober. Lack of purpose is why a lot of people drink. They might have everything on the outside, a job, the kids, the marriage, whatever it could be that you thought you wanted. But if you don't have purpose or like you're talking about a why, it is much harder to stay sober. So I love to hear that you felt all that purpose. And this is a great segue into what you do today because you basically are teaching online with Sober and Sound. And for those of you that don't know, it's sober N, the letter N, sound. And I want you to dive into how did it get to the point where you started this Instagram? What did that look like?
Do you know what? When I was about 28, my mum bought me a little camera thing, and I thought, do you know what? Because I always believed I could do something pretty cool in my life, and I was like, I'm gonna teach guys that have got no idea how to cook how to fry an egg and how to iron a shirt. Obviously, I couldn't do that because I was drinking all the time. Uh, but when I moved to Barcelona when I was about 4 years sober, and I ended up living with a girl, a Catalan girl, local girl, and fell in love. It was a serious relationship, and I started a slang English project online. and it blew up. And well, blew up in about 3 months. I got about 4,000 followers, and people were, "Oh, mate, this is incredible." So I knew deep down that I had something about me that I could translate to a camera,
Mm.
but it wasn't purposeful enough. It's like, what? Oh, great. It was high level English slang. I'm like, okay, so this guy speaks perfect English, more or less. And now I'm helping him speak to drunk English people and understand their vernacular. I was like, that ain't going to last forever. So when COVID happened, my partner reached out to me and I came back. Everything went well. Now we have a family, blah, de blah. Say blah, de blah. It's been the best fucking experience of my life.
And you wouldn't have had it if you hadn't stayed sober. So I love that.
No, no, of course
Yeah.
not. Not at all. Not at all. So I always said to her, I want to, because alcohol, just you extract, you squeeze stuff out of others and society, and you give fuck all back. And I thought, all my drinking life, I wanted to give. All I did was take. So I said to her in the kitchen one night, I want to, recreate that project that I did, but I want it to be more meaningful. I want to help men. And one night she just said, "Do you know, why don't you just help people get sober? Because your story's fucking cool. And I just think you might be able to, make that work." So I spent November 20, what are we now? 26 now, isn't it? So yeah, November 2023, I think it was. I really can't remember. Anyway, 2 and a bit years ago, I just got to work, got the Excel spreadsheets. I was like, right, I'm going to help people get sober. And I did about 2 months prep. And then, so I started Sober and Sound in February. So in about 3 weeks, I'll be 2 years on Instagram. And it just took off. It just blew up straight away, really. And I was unapologetically myself. I swear like fuck. I talk to the camera like I talk to my mates. And I don't know, people just bought into it. And yeah, it's changing lives at, a rate of knots.
So how many years sober were you when you started it? I can't do the math.
I actually did it in, one of the reasons I did it was because I was coming up to 10 years.
Yeah.
So I was about 8 weeks into the project and I turned 10 years sober. And do you know what? I'll tell you honestly, Caitlin, maybe years 7, 8, and 9, my sober anniversary would pass. And 3 weeks later, I'd say to Gabby, my missus, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I was 8 years sober a few weeks ago." Shit. Huh. Because that's how far away I'd removed myself from it. I just kind of created a whole new identity, a better version of the identity that I had deep down. But yeah, approaching 10 years sober. And a lot of people are like, why have you just suddenly rocked up here and brought up all your past and feel like you want to talk about this? I was like, I just want to help people because I think I can. And I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did so much work and you recovered parts of yourself that were always there. I always say there's this unbecoming. I'm not becoming someone else. I'm actually unbecoming the layers of shame that I placed on top of myself for my behaviors, for my drinking, what I thought others thought of me. And that's what you were doing. You were just unbecoming this old version of you, becoming someone new who was a bigger vessel that could now teach and could now say, I can take all this experience. And what I love to tell people when, I'm a coach and I one-on-one work with people is like, you can take all the places you were before and mesh them into who you are today. Like I have a
Mm.
background in PR and marketing. Guess what? That helped me with a podcast and a social
Yeah.
media. I didn't like it when I was doing it then. I like that I can apply it to sobriety today. So what I love is that for 10 years, you were building this new sense of self. And how did you become brave enough to put yourself out there so visibly? Obviously, you said in the classroom, I love to be kind of center of attention. It was very theatric. How were you brave enough to get visible online? A lot of people are too scared to even talk to their friends or their family about sobriety, let alone put it out there on social media. So that was a huge thing for me. I did my account and it was all quotes. I wouldn't even post a photo. And then it grew over time to enough followers where I was like, oh my God, people are resonating with this so deeply. I better put a picture out there. So now they can put a face to the name, and it made me less scared. So what was it about your sobriety that you were like, all right, I'm ready to put this out there and online?
Well, you know what? I was in a band for most of my 20s, two bands for most of my 20s. So to be looked at is something I embrace and almost welcome. And I'll admit that I'm vain. No, I can't wait for my hair to I shaved my head recently. I can't wait for my hair to grow back because it brings out my blue eyes. I'm that kind of guy. I admit it freely. I couldn't give a fuck what people think. So I thought, um,
That's what makes your account so engaging, by the way, is like he really doesn't give a fuck. And that's what I literally watched maybe 3 of your reels and I reached out immediately and I was like, you need to be on the podcast. Will you do this? Because it's so true. You don't give a fuck, but it's so endearing. It's because you're authentic.
well, you can't say you're authentic about yourself, otherwise you sound like a dick. But
Well, there you go.
I
I said
feel
it for you.
thank you, but I feel like I am myself on camera. You know, I feel like I am the. I don't know how to be any other way, really. I'm also from the north. I grew up in the northwest of England. It, people from that part of the world are blunt and direct and frank. My dad's from just outside Glasgow in Scotland. He's direct, you know. So um, I had imposter syndrome at the beginning. I won't lie, but I think I masked it quite well. And I did have worries about, oh, what might people think? But I remember there's a page called Sober Motivation, I think. There's a podcast, a guy, Brad, I think his name
Love
is.
him. Yeah,
Yeah,
Brad.
well, he does the shout out. So I sent him a picture of myself looking like fucking wrecked. And another one of me in Spain, I look like Tom Selleck, you know, Magnum PI, with a mustache. And I just, let me just,
Okay.
I reached out to Brad and he shared my like before and after picture, and I got about 1,000 followers in about 20 minutes. It was insane. I just
Wow.
no, that can't be right. 100 followers in about 20 minutes, and I went to bed and I woke up and I had like 1,000 more followers. I was like, oh wow, and it just gave me a bit of momentum. And then I had one reel that had about 3.5 million views, and it just kind of opened it up, and people were so into it, and they loved the fact that I didn't give a fuck. So I just thought, well, I might as well just carry on being myself. Because I realized I was getting straight away, I was getting messages from people going, I really like your content. I really resonate with it. And I thought, I can't hide it anymore. You know, I've got to put it all out there because it's helping people. And by then you start to feel like, what's the word? There was no shame left. I had no shame associated with my old self because I'd done so much interesting stuff in those 10 years. I'd lived in about 6 or 7 cities in Spain. I'd, you know, bummed around in countries because it was cheaper to live there, just backpacking. I'd moved to Hungary with an ex-girlfriend and it didn't go right. So I just came back and I had to sleep in hostels for 4 months. So I kind of developed this kind of fearlessness about stuff. And I thought it'd be a shame not to, you know, let people see the content because people are buying into it. So yeah, that was the reason really. And now it's going from strength to strength, and I'm starting to think how many hundreds of thousands of people in the next 20 years going to get sober because that's just the way I think really, which is
Yeah,
mad.
and it is this vision that we have as these people who were like sober curious, turn sober, or like really reflective on sobriety. What I find from these sobriety accounts, there's so many. Like you said, it's Brad and you, and oh my gosh, I love Dad on the Mocks. There's
Oh
a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of
Oh, he's a great dude. He is really
oh,
like
he's
him.
one of my very best friends now. We've never met in person.
Yeah, it's mad the connections you get, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, and just, like, getting to sit with people like you where it's like, "God, I feel less alone when I hear your story," because I resonate so deeply, even down to I'm at the 7-year mark next week, I turn 7, and I am feeling
Bravo.
this Thank you. I'm feeling this sense of more, I need more, like, I did work all 12 steps, and now how can I help others who are too scared to work the 12 steps? That's what step 0 means. It's the step before step 1. It's for
Yeah,
people who are too scared to go to AA, to go do the steps, because that's where I was my first 9 months of sobriety. I wouldn't touch AA. I was like, stigmas are true. So, what
yeah.
I love about what you're doing is the service. You're literally doing step 12 is being of service to others. And so, tell us how listeners can, yes, find your Instagram, watch his reels. They're awesome. But how else can they work with you? Because I'm obsessed with this new program you have going on.
Okay, so I got Sober and Sound on Instagram, which is where I do my daily stuff. And then through that, I've also started coaching in the last sort of 7 or 8 months. Um, and last night, I launched a Patreon community because, and I'll tell you why I did that. I get 30 messages a day, people going, help me, save me. Um, my marriage is going down the pan. Oh, I've got liver failure. I've got blah de blah de blah, and you know it's overwhelming. You know, you're sitting there watching telly with your partner, and you get a message, and you're like, "Wow, someone's life's falling apart in another town." Um, but I can't answer all those questions. I can't respond to everything. It's just like it's humanly impossible. It's not possible. I got a 9-year-old stepdaughter, a 4-year-old daughter, and I have to be a dad, and I can't do everything. I have to give the content on Instagram to the masses. Do you know what I mean? But I just thought that if people really want the real community and support, I can give that to them. So the community opened last night. Already the WhatsApp group is banging. There's a lot of people that followed me for a while. There's random new people, and that will entail a WhatsApp support group. But because then all these people that are messaging me, if they're all in one place, I don't have to be there. I've like initiated and created it. I don't have to be on it all the time, and I've kind of created I don't know what I've created. It's like
It's a community and
yeah.
connection. And what I will say about early sobriety is yes, you're there as this point person for them to look forward to. But what I needed in early sobriety is what you're bringing together, these newcomers who are feeling the same way at the same time. I needed to hear others who were like in the shitter, had a lot of shame, not feeling good about themselves. But then I also needed to look, like you were saying, the long timers where you walked into that first meeting and there were people who had long term sobriety. You need it all, and that's what you're offering.
Well, I'm offering that. Exactly, you're right. And then there's also because of all the questions that I get on Instagram, they're kind of the same answers. Not really, but what I mean is there's a bank of questions of maybe 20 scenarios or lifestyle issues or blah de blah, and they're very similar. So what I offer is a community, the WhatsApp community. I'm doing exclusive podcasts with experts in fields, ADHD, family addiction specialists, mental health practitioners, resilience coaches, and I'm also offering weekly Q&As. So if you're in the community, you can shoot a message in the WhatsApp group and say, Gary, I've got this issue, or I can't overcome this hurdle. And it needs more than a 30-second explanation or a 2-minute reel. It needs a deep dive. And coupling that with the coaching and what I've learned from coaching, because if you're going to coach, you have to learn your shit. Do you know what I mean? It's one thing to be a guy that doesn't drink. It's another thing to be able to tell people how to stop.
And by the way, living it daily, what I realize the most about coaching is if I'm not in the work and if I'm not doing things that I'm recommending to clients, if I'm
Right.
recommending a morning routine, if I'm recommending these tips and these tools, and then I'm sitting there not using them, it's palpable. You can tell. So talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
being authentic in your coaching.
Yeah.
You really walk the walk.
Well, I think people that come to me don't mind being told the fucking truth. Yeah. I think they need that. They'll go, this guy's frank, blunt as hell. So he's probably going to tell me it like it is. And then that just gets, if you get the truth, then you can start working. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
pillar one of my coaching, it's just radical honesty. Just fucking blurt it out. Tell me what it is. Own it. Because the day I owned it, the day I accepted it, was the day I started to change my life. So yeah, I do these
Yeah.
weekly YouTube premieres at 8 p.m. pre-recorded, all the questions of the week. Let's see what questions come this week because it's the first week. So far, so good. Great vibes in the group. Coaching's going well. Sober and Sound's growing. I hit 1 million views in 30 days. Had a good Christmas period. A lot of new followers from a few viral reels. And yeah, I just feel I've got it. And I don't know, it's got a surge through me really at the moment. It's time to go and grow it because it's a good feeling. Because you get the messages of despair and misery, but I get an equal number of, mate, I'm 12 days sober, thanks, man. And then you see people comment on someone else's page, oh, I'm 16 days sober. And you remember the night that he messaged you to say that his wife was considering kicking him out. That's a
Yeah.
generic example. That's not a specific thing. So I sleep well at night, knowing that that's a contribution. Having not contributed in any way to society really for 15 years, I'm like, all right, I've made up for it now. And that sits well with me. So yeah, it's been a ride both ways. And that's why I said, I can't remember if we said this before we started recording, but I feel like my alcohol problem was meant to be so I can now be here. I can now be here to maybe save others. Do you know what I mean? What's the point of being alive if you're not helping people?
You really know your why. And this is a quote I say often: your greatest work is offering to the world what you wish was offered to you in your moment of greatest pain. And
Indeed.
that's what you're doing. It's so beautiful to watch. And
Thank you.
yeah, I just again, you walk the walk and you do the things that you recommend. And so tell our listeners today who might be struggling with just like a day one or a 1 month or whatever it is, what is your morning routine or what is something you do in sobriety that's like a non negotiable? I heard you say meditation. Is that what it would be? Or do you have anything else you would recommend?
Do you know what? I'm for me on a personal level, I don't do anything to stay sober now. I just am Gary. I really don't. I don't do my morning routine's fucked because of the kids.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
think people need to hear this though. I have 3 kids and I'm a single mom, so guess what? My morning routine doesn't look the same on days where I have my kids, and then the only reason I can implement one when they're with my ex is because I'm alone. And I think people need to hear that kind of honesty and authenticity of like, I don't want to see the perfect people who are like 7 days a week I wake up and I take a walk and drink my lemon water and then I meditate for 30 minutes. It's like, who has time for that?
I mean, the only thing, exactly the only thing I can guarantee that I wake up and take is a piss. Like, that's
Yeah.
about it. Mine, but the non-negotiable things are at the beginning. Let's say, okay, I would say I'm 12 years sober in April. I would say 80% of the days of those 12 years, I have meditated every day. Meditating saved my life. And people are like, oh, I can't. Oh, I can't concentrate for that amount of time. Oh, I can't stop thinking. It's like Jimi Hendrix wasn't Jimi Hendrix the first time he picks up a guitar. You know what I mean? And meditation is not fucking switching your brain off. Meditation's allowing the thoughts to come and then letting them go and then realizing you're thinking again and coming back to the breath. If you keep coming back to the breath, coming back to the breath, and you do that every day for a year, you see the changes in your life, bro. You know? So I would say, because it's not just that, it's central nervous system control. And I'm telling you, if you're a heavy drinker, your nervous system is shot to buggery. So you need to control that. It's not just like woo woo, it's science. So I would say understand that in the first few weeks, they're going to be miserable in many ways, but you'll also get the personal growth and nuggets and like shining lights alongside it. So for all the bad, a bit like you said, you're going to get the bad and you're going to get the good, and you have to go through the bad. So I would say to anyone, radical honesty,
Mm.
watch a bit of Andrew Huberman on YouTube to try and understand what damage alcohol is doing to you and understand that your joy is flatlining because of booze. You think, oh, life's shit. I can't enjoy anything. It's like, dude, booze is stopping you, is preventing you to feel joy. Oh, I keep making mistakes. Yeah, because alcohol impairs your decision making, not only when it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you're coked up in someone's kitchen and you've had 12 pints, but it also impairs your decision making on a Tuesday afternoon when you're sober. So get to grips with the science and look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, do you really think you can't do it? Who the fuck? I always say, Charlie Sheen got sober.
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen had loads of money to go to rehab. Like, the more money you've got, the harder it is.
I agree. Or the more
So,
public it is, it's like everybody's scrutinizing and watching you.
exactly.
At least we could
So,
kind of do it in private.
yeah, indeed. So it's time to start believing in yourself and stop this fucking pity party victimhood bullshit because everyone's life's hard. And I think when you look in the mirror and go, yeah, I fucked it. I need to fix it. And you just own it and accept it and sharing, obviously, you know, and sharing in community again. It's more science, is it, I always say the wrong word because Oxycontin is something
Dopamine.
very
Oh,
different.
it's like
Oxytocin,
oxytocin. And then
the
there's
love,
also
the
like
love
dopamine
hormone.
hits. Yeah.
Yeah, the love hormones, sharing,
Mm,
connection. So connection, honesty, bit of science, bit of mindset shift, movement, sweat it out. Get like say dopamine chasing, but healthy,
yeah. One of my guests
healthy
was like,
type.
just take a walk. Like go for a
Yeah,
walk. You were saying these 10-minute increments where you couldn't do anything but go buy another beer. Go
yeah,
outside, take a walk. Don't take any money so you can't buy
yeah,
anything. And like it's that movement, like you're saying. I'll link some Andrew Huberman. That's a great
yeah,
recommendation. I'll link some in our show notes because I think that's important to fill your mind with the knowledge. And then for me, yes, it was sharing that cuts the pain in half. They say it's like being in connection and community. Gabor Mate says that's the antidote
Yeah.
to addiction is connection and community. And then the last one for me is like journaling. I think I heard you say I wrote it all out once. That was huge to me in early sobriety, and I'll still implement that today, just not as often. I, like you, realized that when I stopped drinking, there was a lot of shit in there that I was like, well,
Yeah.
I feel passionate about this, or I'm like pissed off about this. And I've heard you say on your Instagram, I kind of missed that first year of sobriety where I had
Mm,
all this like, oh, and it just was
yeah.
so amped up. And so I love your recommendations. It's so true.
Yeah. Andrew Huberman's kind of impartial, non-judgment. He's not judging alcohol. He's not demonizing alcohol. He's just giving you the facts straight. I think it's 2.5 hours. It's worth a listen. Yeah, you be brave to drink after that.
Mm-hmm.
Listening
And
to that
some people
podcast.
don't even want to know. Annie Grace was really the like first to come in and be like, look, alcoholism or not, here are the facts of addiction, of what alcohol does to your body. And once people read that, I know a lot of people who don't have alcoholic tendencies and they've stopped drinking because is it Andrew Carr, How to Quit Smoking and How to
Alan Carr.
Alan. Alan Carr is How to Quit Smoking, How to Quit Drinking. There's so much information out there now that wasn't there 11 years ago for you, wasn't even there
Yeah.
7 years ago for me. And I'm so grateful that there are communities like yours and people can start to like do their own research. I always encourage people, go find the facts for yourself. Don't just listen to me. This is what worked for me, but go do some research. And I'm not the say all be all either.
Yeah, you can educate yourself. Getting sober is strategy. It's psychological warfare with yourself, and you can win that by strategizing. Simple as that. That's what I believe, and it worked for me, and it's working for the people that I'm helping. And let's be honest, being sober is way better than being an alcoholic.
Seriously. Oh, you heard it here first. No. All right. So I like to end with rapid fire questions. You can answer these in one word or a whole sentence. You can give a little backstory if you feel called to, but there's just a few. What is your favorite sober drink and or snack? This can be from early sobriety or now, like you said, a little sugar addiction, maybe.
Early sobriety, tonic water. Long-term sobriety, sparkling water.
Nice. Any snacks that you would recommend?
I've
I
eat,
love knowing what's across the pond.
yeah, okay. I did most of my early sobriety in Spain, so something like the caramel flan.
Nice. I know. I like splurge on popcorn now. I've said this a few
Yeah,
times, but for some reason I have a little addiction to popcorn and I'm okay with it. It doesn't ruin my life the next day.
yeah, quite. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. What is one thing sobriety gave you that you didn't even know that you needed?
Oh, that's a great question. Alan Watts. I didn't know there was such things on YouTube as Alan Watts's speech. Have you heard of him?
I've
He's
heard of him. I've listened
American
to him. Will
English
you send
philosopher.
me your top like favorite Alan Watson? We'll link it in the show notes.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't know I needed him in my life. That's a tough question. I must have a better answer than that though.
No,
Uh,
that's so good. And I think what
Alan
people don't
Watts.
realize is how much you can say, I want to get sober, but you need to hear it's like a spiritual solution sometimes. And
Correct.
so, what Alan Watts offers is a new way to look at the world, to look at the evolution of humanity. And there is, they say in AA, this God sized hole can be inside of me that I need to fill with more than just AA. Go listen to where spiritual and religious people are right is a line in the big book.
Yeah.
Go outside of the bubble and see what you can find. And that's what you did. And I love him.
Yeah, he's good. I'm a big fan. I like Sadhguru as well, the Indian guy. He's brilliant.
Yes. He is brilliant and really quick because they're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
he's
you can
funny.
grab a nugget and run. Like you said, for the busy parent out there, he is great. All right. What is one myth about sobriety that you love to debunk?
That it will be boring. Do you know why? Because the opposite of drinking is every fucking activity in the whole world imaginable, and you're telling me you're you're discounting that as a possibility for it to be fun. That says you think only drinking can be fun. Sobriety is the antithesis of boring. It's just absolute nonsense.
And you can feel the fun, you can live the fun, and you can just, I don't know, embrace it in a way where I actually remember my memories of what I
See?
did that was fun.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. So my last one is a trend that was on social media a little while ago. But if you could have coffee with your younger self, what is one thing that you would want your younger self to know?
Alcohol is a poison, dickhead. I didn't know that until about 4 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd be saying that. I'd be saying, "Do you know what you're actually putting into your system?" And not even internally, like everywhere, soluble, it's everywhere, cells, skin, it's everywhere.
And it is ingrained into our society on billboards, on commercials, at every store that this is normal to ingest. And for the listener out there who doesn't have the knowledge yet, go do your own research, like we said, and go find out what alcohol does to your body and your system. And my dad actually passed away almost 3 years ago this April, and it was because of alcohol. He didn't drink himself to death. He drank so much he got cancer, and it was
There
a
you go.
slow death, and he couldn't stop drinking, and he couldn't stop, the cancer was getting worse, and it was like
I'm sorry to hear that.
no one could say anything, and it's like I have seen firsthand what a toxin it is, and so really do your research. Even if you don't feel like you've hit a rock bottom, alcohol's not good for any of us. So
Agreed.
yeah. I just want to say, Gary, thank you so much for your honesty today, your willingness to tell us the truth. And these conversations really remind us that, and I want to say us, but really me, that sobriety isn't about losing something, it's about gaining much more.
Yeah.
And then I want to say to my listeners, if you're still questioning getting sober and if that's the right choice for you, I really encourage you to check out Gary's Instagram. Again, that's sober in, as in the letter N, sound. Gary, are there any other links that you want to put out there? And we'll add them to the show notes.
Yeah, sure, Matt. You can find me at the Sober and Sound crew on Patreon. They're my 2 areas, that I'm available and active. So, yeah, just those 2 currently, but, might go into TikTok sometime.
Yeah, we're both talking about starting our TikToks up, so look
Yes.
out for those soon. And I'm Caitlin.Henry on Instagram if you ever want to DM me with questions. And again, Gary's open to those too until he gets too big. And then again, join his community. And just remember that really you don't have to hit rock bottom to get sober. Whatever that looks like for you, you can stop today. So, Gary, thanks again for being here and cheers till next time.
Pleasure, I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Caitlin. Cheers.